So fourth canto, 19th chapter, text 27. Prithu Maharaj's 100 horse sacrifices. Tamritvijaha Shakra Vadabhisandhitam Vichakshya Duspreksyam Asahya Ramhasam Nivarayam Asuraho Mahamate Nayujyate Tranya Vada Prachodhita. Text 27, chapter 19, canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam. When the priests and all the others saw Maharaj Prithu very angry and prepared to kill Indra, they requested him, "O great soul, do not kill him. For only sacrificial animals can be killed in a sacrifice. Such are the directions given by the Shastra. Animal killing is intended for different purposes. It tests the proper pronunciation of the Vedic mantras, and an animal being put into the sacrificial fire should come out with a new life. No one should ever be killed in a sacrifice meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. How then could Indra be killed when he is actually worshipped in the yajna and accepted as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Therefore, the priest requested King Prithu not to kill him. So this is one such pastime where we see here now Maharaj Indra is performing mistakes repeatedly, one after the other, owing to the drive of intoxication because of false pride, which has led to envy and insecurity. Maharaj Indra is repeatedly performing the mistake. So previously, some time back, we saw how Vena Maharaj was performing atrocities, very brutal, barbaric atrocities, and that also in a repeated fashion. That in both these episodes, obviously Maharaj Indra's intensity is not that cruel or barbaric, but yes, it's a greed for power, and it's an unleashing of the envious heart. So the envy is getting manifested in this form, that he is putting obstacles in the 100 sacrifice. Now, in both these episodes, it is very interesting to note how the Brahmanas are responding. So initially also, previously also, when we saw Maharaj Vena, the Brahmanas gave a lot of chances to Maharaj Vena. The initial reaction of the Brahmanas, if you see, was the same as the reaction which is coming here. Initially, the Brahmanas wanted to give Vena Maharaj also chance. Such an atrocious person, he was also given a chance. So many times, we see this is the nature of the Brahmanas. This is the nature of the Shastras. In fact, this is the nature of, so we can understand that what is universal administration? What is the nature of that administration? What is the mindset? The mindset is accommodative. That is the point we should note. As soon as one takes on to a little positivity also, the universal settings are going to encourage such a person. So one is given chance after chance. So we can see that the universal management or the universal administration is also going to enact on the same principles, because now which has been the highlight. So we have seen previously also the Brahmanas now acted in this fashion. Now also the Brahmanas acted in this fashion, very accommodative. So actually, this should give us more and more increasing faith in the universal system. That yes, whatever has been arranged, no, Prarabdha is not our enemy. The universal arrangement, universal administration is there to help us out, to give us chance after chance. So we are getting a chance after chance to resurrect ourselves. Therefore, at any stage we begin, that marks we begin tracing the path of dharma. That marks positivity, and our devotee embarking should not be fearful or afraid, because the whole system is very accommodative. That is the point which we should note. The whole system is quite accommodative. So on the first note here, we can see the Brahmanas want to give a chance to Maharaj Indra. That okay, no problem. He did some childish activity. Let's just overlook it. Maybe he'll be satisfied, pacified now, and we can move ahead. Vayam marutvantam ihartha nashanam vaya mahetva Shravashat hatatusham ayatayamo pahaver anantaram prasaya rajan juhavamate hitam. Dear king, Indra's powers are already reduced due to his attempt to impede the execution of the sacrifice. We shall call him by Vedic mantras, which were never before used, and certainly he will come. Thus, by the power of our mantra, we shall cast him into the fire, because he is your enemy. By chanting the Vedic mantras properly in a sacrifice, one can perform many wonderful things. In Kali Yuga, however, there are no qualified brahmanas who can chant the mantras properly. Consequently, no attempt should be made to perform such big sacrifices. In this age, the only sacrifice recommended is the Sankirtan movement. So yes, many times the question comes that okay, why in the Vedic times there are going to be animal sacrifices, animals are killed. In the previous purport, Prabhupada is explaining the fact that unless one is sure that he can give the animal a new life by the purity and the efficacy of the sacrifice should not be made. That is first thing. Here we see the next point, the next important point, which is being highlighted, that only a qualified person can attempt. So, Srila Prabhupada explains everything has its utility, proper utility. But it only behooves an expert person to be able to actually do it, to be able to attempt to do it. And in general, Kali Yuga, everyone is prohibited to attempt such a thing because there is no qualification, no purity of heart. But this does not rule out the fact that previous ages one will not be qualified. Just like we can take the example Or say when a person has got tumor in his body, then a surgery may have to be performed to take out tumor. So anyone and everyone cannot attempt cutting the body. The person will get killed. But the surgery may be required, and only an expert surgeon he can, so he can take the step forward and do it. So that is the point, that the expertise answers the question. When an expert is driving, even though it is a risky road, but he can drive a positive purpose or positive end. But whereas a novice will create disaster. That's why Srila Prabhupada is attempting, or Srila Prabhupada is now concluding that if for this age, the sacrifice which is recommended is the Sankirtan movement. In Sankirtan, everyone can participate. But if one doesn't want to participate, how will they? Okay, so there is question. Question is, if one does not want to participate in Sankirtan. People are so unfortunate, they don't want to participate. Lord Chaitanya's mercy is flowing. Okay, so in Kali Yuga, people are very unfortunate. They don't want to participate in Sankirtan. So what should be done? So we have to create fortune for them. So Mahaprabhu has not. So Mahaprabhu's mood is to reach out to people and help them understand. So we have to extend ourselves to create fortune for them, to make people understand, appreciate, acknowledge, and relate with the efficacy of the Sankirtan. So what impact Sankirtan can bring in our lives, it is our responsibility to display that impact to people. How to relate with the process of Sankirtan, it is our responsibility to help people understand that. Therefore, there is, so it is our responsibility to help people understand. Just by, so the point is that, okay, there is unfortunate situation that gives us an opportunity to be an instrument in the hands of Lord Chaitanya Dev. So that is why a devotee, is enthusiastic. No, we don't discriminate and disqualify people. So it is our responsibility actually to display the efficacy, to display the culture, to display the sweetness, which the Sankirtan brings about, or which the Sankirtan can bring about in people's life. Therefore, we ourselves follow very strictly and very, very deeply, and so that the culture, the sweetness, the efficacy can be brought about very grossly in front of everyone, so that people's hearts can be touched and they can relate with this message and they can practice. That is the point. That is the point. So if we identify with Mahaprabhu's mission, we should be relentless. That is the point. Because Mahaprabhu has given us all ammunition, and we carry that ammunition. That ammunition will show its powers. So we have to be on one front very enthusiastic in following intensely the process, the injunctions given by the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by our acharyas, and work hard to share this with others actually. So to share and care requires a lot of hard work, and that should be the goal of our lives. iti amantraya kratupatim vidura swartha vijorusha shakrastan juhuvatobhyetya swayambhu pratyasedata. So now the stage has come that Indra's no, mistakes and Indra's Indra's wild nature has gone beyond the threshold, and therefore after some time the sages have come to the point that they want to call Indra and destroy him by the power of mantras. My dear Vidura, after giving the king this advice, the priests who had been engaged in performing the sacrifice called for Indra, the king of heaven, in a mood of great anger. When they were just ready to put the oblation in the fire, Lord Brahma appeared on the scene and forbade them to start the sacrifice. So this anger of the sages, now we may say, okay, how can the priests be angry? This anger of the sages is because Indra was obstructing, Maharaj Indra was obstructing the performance of sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. Rather, Maharaj Indra was obstructing a great devotee, that is Prithu Maharaj. And because in this way Indra was obstructing the mission of the Lord, therefore the sages were greatly angry to bind him, and if he doesn't learn the lesson, to destroy him. But seeing the seriousness of the situation, Lord Brahma has appeared in the scene to forbid them to start the sacrifice. Nabadyo bhavatam indro yadyagno bhagavattanu yam jigam satha yagyena yasyestas tanava suraha. Lord Brahma addressed them thus: my dear sacrificial performers, you cannot kill Indra, the king of heaven. It is not your duty. You should know that Indra is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, he is one of the most powerful assistants of the Personality of Godhead. You are trying to satisfy all the demigods by the performance of this yajna. But you should know that all these demigods are but part and parcels of Indra, the king of heaven. How then can you kill him in this great sacrifice? So this is an interesting turn of events here. Where the priests, they got fed up with Indra's obstacles and in Indra's defiant behavior. But then Lord Brahma's address to them is, it is not your duty. So again, we can see that same thread, that even though Indra has made a big serious mistake, the sages, they tolerate it for a good amount of time. And when the sages, when it has crossed the tolerance limit of the sages, Lord Brahma is again coming and establishing the aura of accommodativeness. That okay, no problem. So now here you see the point is, Indra's position is being not talked about. Mind it, this position is not attained. This is not political. This is not a political position. Indra's position is not attained by doing some cheap politics and some manipulation and other things. Indra's position is attained by heaps and heaps of pious activities. So in the universal management, position is equivalent to a history of positive devotional and pious activities. And that is what Brahmaji is bringing out. That okay, mind it, he is Indra. Indra is, and what is this post, Indra? This post is attained only by a person who has served Krishna a great deal. And that is what Brahmaji is highlighting. That's why I said he's as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he has served the Supreme Personality of Godhead so much. Now here there is now here he stands, committing a mistake. But how can we neglect? And how can we overlook the heaps of service which he has done to the Supreme Lord? And based on that service, Maharaj, I know Lord Brahma is giving the conclusion that he is one of the most powerful assistants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He cannot be treated like this. He cannot be treated like this. No. How can you kill him? So you see, this is Vedic culture. This is Vedic administration. Like sometimes one may say, okay, what is the balance? What is the matrix of punishment and accommodativeness? We can see here, is it not? We can see here, what are the factors which are being spread around? First of all, accommodative, is it not? Accommodative does not mean we don't help the other person, or we do not we let the person do whatever he has to do. So giving him an opportunity. And the next point Brahmaji is highlighting very prominently is that we have to look at how much service the person has done. How much service the person has done. So now we may say, okay, but how much service the person has done. Now, you see, the point is here. Now, with this whole episode, what is going to happen on Maharaj Indra? You see, who has to be killed, or who has to be not taken to the extent of killing? Now, let's come down to the punishment aspect of things. No? Who needs killing actually, and he won't be rectified with any step further. Bhagavatam explains that. So only a person who is as demoniac as Maharaj Vena, he has to be taken to the extent of killing, so that at least he stops performing his sinful activities, and thereby he will be saved from future mountains of karma. And by that process of killing, at least some of his reaction will get burnt out. So only a person like Vena needs to be killed. Maharaj Indra is not that big a demon. I mean, he is not demoniac, he's a devotee. He got bewildered a bit. And therefore, he does not need to go to the extent of killing. And this is another reason why Brahmaji has interfered. That okay, that this episode has come, Indra got fearful enough, now just stop it. He doesn't need to be actually killed. Vena needed to be killed, not Indra. Why? Because Indra is an assistant of the Lord. Even though he makes a mistake, he'll be easily rectified. So this is the point. Therefore, so this is the point, which we have to understand. This is the point which we have to understand. Now, so you see, when there were attacks by dacoits in Mayapur, and when they were actually when they were actually brutally attacking our devotees, in return our devotees had to shoot as well, but that is for dacoits. When another devotee in the community commits a mistake, he doesn't have to be shot, he doesn't have to be kicked in a very brutally, because he has been, because of his previous services, much easily he will set right on the proper track. And that's what happened to Indra. Therefore, you will see, even in Govardhan Leela, Lord Krishna taught Indra, but you see the way he taught him. Indra was not beaten up. Indra was not given any kind of severe physical punishment. Indra was not thrown out. He was not rejected. He was not sent to hellish planets. He was not cursed. His services and powers were not taken away from him. That is the sweetness of Krishna consciousness. This is what Krishna consciousness stands for. Sweetness, is it not? At no point of time we should lose track of what the devotee has done so far for the mission. And one who has done more for the mission, even if he stands to commit a mistake, very easily he'll come back. Why? Because that backup will pull him back on track.
Somebody gets deviated from the path, and then the person himself thinks that I don't deserve Krishna. I like the devotee's accommodation is that no rejection. But if the other person thinks that I don't deserve, like cursing oneself in mode of ignorance and thinking that no, we don't deserve doing nothing. So how to come out of that situation?
Okay, so the question is that when people go off track and commit some mistakes, and they may have some guilt because of which they may not want to come, or they may be feeling fearful to come near devotees. That is why, as devotees, we have to be very accommodative to pierce through that shell of guilt and encourage the person to practice.
And if they think that oh, Krishna will not forgive us, we have done so many offenses.
Krishna is all forgiving. Krishna is all giving opportunities. How do we understand? But we understand that from pages of Bhagavatam. So a person who is feeling fearful, afraid, guilty, we have to tell him this is the nature of Krishna. Is it not? Any pastime you take, where is Krishna so strong? Is it not? The Lord is never so strong, actually. The Lord is never so strong. The Lord is always encouraging the devotee towards the positive. Here you see, Brahmaji stopped it, is it not? Brahmaji stopped it. Rather, Brahmaji is not going to stop here. Brahmaji is going to say that, okay, give up the 100 sacrifice, forget it, is it not? Don't create a situation where it creates turbulence and where it creates an unhealthy atmosphere. Just give it up, don't worry. And amazingly, Prithu Maharaj just gave it up, is it not? We are going to see that. That's going to happen. So here this amazing principle is highlighted, actually, that the harshness or strong reactions are not the hallmark. In Bhagavatam is not doing that. The Lord is not doing that. Krishna is loving, is it not? It's not that, okay, he made a mistake, also what if he has done service, let him be killed, no problem, and next I will send him to hellish planet. No, you see how Indra is being treated, is it not? No doubt he's committing a mistake, no doubt he's acting in a pathetic way. but this much was good enough for Indra to come back to his senses. Is it not? No, no. This much was good enough. So we can learn actually the mood. This is Krishna's mood being highlighted. This is Krishna's heart being highlighted here. This is how Krishna's heart is. Therefore, what is the worry? Therefore, so when it comes to ourselves, we should understand one thing: no matter whatever mistake, what is the Lord telling? We should never leave the process. We should never leave the process. If you don't take shelter of Krishna, whose shelter will take? So that is why, no matter whatever happens, one should not leave the practice of devotional service, the association of devotees. Because no matter what, Krishna can pull us out of any level of conditioning, whatever be it. Tatidam pashyata mahad dharma vyatikaram dvijaha indre nanustitam rajanaha karmaitat vijighamsata. In order to make trouble and impede the performance of King Prithu's great sacrifice, King Indra has adopted many means that in the future will destroy the clear path of religious life. I draw your attention to this fact. If you oppose him any further, he will further misuse his power and introduce many other irreligious systems. Prithu kirte prithur bhuya tarahi eko na satkratuh alam te kratubhi shvistair yad bhavan moksha dharmavit. Let there be only 99 sacrificial performances for Maharaj Prithu. Lord Brahma concluded. Lord Brahma then turned towards Maharaj Prithu and informed him that since he was thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what was the use in performing more sacrifices? Lord Brahma came down to pacify King Prithu regarding his continual performance of 100 sacrifices. King Prithu was determined to perform 100 sacrifices, and King Indra took this very seriously because Indra himself was known as the performer of 100 sacrifices. Just as it is the nature of all the living entities within this material world to become envious of their competitors, King Indra, although king of heaven, was also envious of King Prithu and therefore wanted to stop him from performing 100 sacrifices. Actually, there was great competition, and King Indra, to satisfy his senses, began to invent so many irreligious systems to obstruct King Prithu. To stop these irreligious inventions, Lord Brahma personally appeared in the sacrificial arena. As far as Maharaj Prithu was concerned, he was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not necessary for him to perform the prescribed Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Such ceremonies are known as karma, and there is no need for a devotee in the transcendental position to execute them. As the ideal king, however, it was King Prithu's duty to perform the sacrifices. A compromise was therefore to be worked out. By the blessings of Lord Brahma, King Prithu would become more famous than King Indra. Thus, Prithu's determination to perform 100 sacrifices was indirectly fulfilled by the blessings of Lord Brahma. So this is a beautiful contrast with materialistic dealings. The material life is completely based on statistics. Okay, Indra is the top scorer, world record 100. Prithu Maharaj, whatever be the reason, he could 99. He is not the top scorer. He gets a silver medal, and Prithu Maharaj, no, Indra gets a gold medal. No, so that's material statistics. So the spiritual statistics is much more sweeter, much more beautiful. Here, Indra's score superficially, I mean Maharaj Prithu's score superficially is going to be 99. But then that 99, that one sacrifice, Prithu Maharaj's sacrifice, has attracted the oceanic pleasure of Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu also. And therefore there is going to be so much blessings just because Maharaj Prithu accepted Brahmaji's suggestion or Brahmaji's instruction. So Prithu Maharaj, so it is great to do sacrifice, but it is even great to sacrifice the sacrifice. That is a greater sacrifice. So obviously nothing should be done on independent mentality, speculation and all. Everything has to be done in guidance. But here was a direct instruction which a senior person, Lord Brahma, had given. And Maharaj Prithu, although very powerful himself, the Shaktivesh Avatar very readily accepted. And he did the greater sacrifice than the sacrifice what he was doing. So he was doing the Ashwamedh Yajna, and now what Maharaj Prithu did is something much more powerful than Ashwamedh Yajna. He sacrificed a great sacrifice, thus performing a greater sacrifice. And thus now the citizens are going to be flooded with much more mercy, because the sacrifice which ultimately got performed was much greater than Ashwamedh Yajna. That's what we are seeing here. This is the sweetness of the spiritual culture. So sometimes, so we have to understand that spiritual life does not go by superficial metrics. Spiritual life goes by pleasure of Vaishnavas, actually. So, so one dimension is that's the superficial, the statistical dimension, but a much bigger dimension is the dimension of blessings. If in the dimension of blessings, now we can attract, if we can attract blessings, then superficial statistics won't be much much weightage, because superficial statistics are just overcome by the oceanic tide of blessings. That is what has happened here now. That is that oceanic tide of blessings which are going to come because of Prithu Maharaj's amazing reaction. Amazing, role model reaction, actually. Prithu Maharaj was so much determined to do the sacrifice because he wanted the welfare of the citizens, because he wanted to please Lord Vishnu. He wanted to do his duty. He wanted to stand true to his duty. And now Prithu Maharaj has just given us the sacrifice because he wanted to please. And if the pleasure means to give him the sacrifice, then Prithu Maharaj very happily did that. Amazing. So in this way, Prabhupada's concluding statement of the purport, Prithu Maharaj's determination to perform 100 sacrifices was indirectly fulfilled by the blessings of Lord Brahma. Naivatmane Mahindraya Rosham Ahartum Arhasi Ubhavapi Ibhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigraho. That Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you. For you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you should not be angry with King Indra, who is non-different from you. Who is non-different from you. So devotees can rejoin the same link after it gets cut off. Let there be good fortune to both of you, for you and King Indra are both